Matt, when I look at the Falcons, I look at a team that is sort of different on both sides of the ball. You got, new offensive coordinator here. A lot of newness on the offensive side of the ball. Dirk Koetter, Mike Mularkey. On the defensive side of the ball, Dan Quinn has sort of taken over now. So what's this camp like, and what has that been like for you guys and for players?
Well, I think it's definitely been an adjustment. On the defensive side of the ball with Dan calling the defense and kind of running those meetings, we don't see him as much, but then at night there's been a communication level between Dan and I that has been great, kind of crossing over between offense and defense. But as far as us working on the offensive side of the ball, there's adjustment. Anytime you have a new coordinator, people have different flavors. They kind of emphasize different things. And so I think we've done a nice job adjusting to that. But it's a work in progress. We got a long way to go.
When people watch your offense this year, what will they notice different in a Dirk Koetter offense than what you've been doing?
Well, I think there's tempo to it. There's a lot of no huddle where you're communicating at the line of scrimmage, which is a little bit different than what we've been the last 4 years. I think as far as scheme, a lot of the scheme will be different, but there will be just different uses of tempo for us, changing speeds offensively.
Do you think it's going to be difficult for you to adjust? Have you totally bought into it now?
I had 3 years with Dirk before, and so I kind of have a feel for how that goes. I always enjoyed kind of playing in that up-tempo style of offense, and then watching them going against them in Tampa the last 4 years. You kind of see that, and you see the stress it puts on a defense. I think the guys will enjoy it. There's a level of physical conditioning that we all have to improve at, and I think that's what is so valuable about this time of the year, is to be able to work that.
What was your goal this offseason? If Matt Ryan is going to get better at something or work on one part of his game, was there such a thing, and what did you do?
I think the biggest thing for me was working on my training, diet, and recovery. And as I get, into my mid-30s, it's a lot more about, taking care of my body so that it's ready to go the next day. And if I can do that, I feel like that helps me become a better player. Feel fresher, feel better on the field, stay healthier throughout the course of the season. That was a big point of emphasis for me in terms of my training, recovery, and diet.
What's your sleep situation like, especially now with 2 1.5-year-olds?
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. We're lucky. Our boys sleep really well.
What time do they go down? 7-ish?
7 to 7. They do pretty good. Like 12 hours. That's the kind of sleep I wish I could get.
Yeah.
But I really strive to get 9 hours.
Wow.
I think more so than anything, it's a commitment to trying to get into bed around 9 o'clock, which sounds great, but it's not always the easiest thing to do. And trying to sleep until 6. It's amazing the number of studies. All of the things that you can do to recover are one thing, but sleep is the most important.
It's amazing how sleep has become almost a dominant part of fitness.
Yes.
Especially for athletes. Have you read about Justin Verlander? 10 hours a night, minimum.
It's
how do you find that time? You're a baseball player.
That's what I mean. It's a commitment, and it sounds great,
Yeah.
It sounds great of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, just get 9 hours every night. I get a ton of sleep, but there's things that you have to give up in order to do that. And but I have noticed, probably the last 3 or 4 years, in making an effort to get 9+ hours of sleep, how much better I do feel consistently, and how much more energy I do have, and how much faster.
Are you able to sleep all the way through, or do you wake up at 3 o'clock and then go back to sleep?
Sometimes I'll like, about 6.5 hours in, I'll kind of stir a little bit, but usually I'm able to fall back asleep. Sometimes, you're not able to, but there are times when 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm looking at myself like, God, I still got 3 hours to go. Get back to sleep.
We're asking all the players we talk to in this camp, okay, you're in the 100th season of the National Football League. Was there a time when you were a kid, do you remember either watching a game on TV or being in a game and thinking that, wow, this has really got me hooked on football? Maybe a game, maybe a player. What was it when you were a kid that might have got you hooked on football?
I remember going to a game at Veterans Stadium. The Cardinals were playing. Jake Plummer was the quarterback for the Cardinals. They were playing the Eagles. And I think I was in high school, so Donovan McNabb
had
he was just maybe in his second year as a starting quarterback. But I remember going to that game and just thinking, like, that's exactly what I want to do. And it was at that moment, that's all I ever wanted to do. From that point forward was have an opportunity to play in the NFL, and I've been lucky enough now to be going into my 12th year.
We'll wrap on this. So right now, you're in your 12th NFL season. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are beginning their 20th season together. Everybody in Vegas thinks they're going to win again. So they're obviously still kind of in somewhat prime years. Have you thought of how long you want to play and how much you want to push the envelope?
Yeah, I think, as long as I feel good, I'd love to play, and I'm playing well. I'd love to, play as long as I can. I think there's been a lot of changes in terms of the rules that have been, good for my position specifically, but also, for all player safety across the board. I think that's been a really good thing. I think, like we've talked about, the changes in sleep and diet and all those things, and feeling better later into life, I think that's probably changed a lot. And so I sit here at 34, and I honestly feel better than I did at 23. And so I'd like to continue that for as long as I can.
You know what Brady said a couple of years ago? He goes, I feel better than I did at 24.
Yeah.
Because he said, I just kept thinking to myself, is this what I have to do for the next 10 years to play football? Sure. I'm sore every day when I wake up.
Yeah.
And he said that's when he started to think about it more as a science. And I think that's the big deal. I mean, it's like quarterbacks 2 generations ago.
Sure.
You're probably sneaking out of here drinking for 3 hours at night. I mean, and I don't know anything about your drinking habit.
Too.
Yeah, right, yeah. But it's almost like you're so careful about every morsel that goes into your body.
Sure.
And
I think, one of the things, the Patriots came down here and practiced with us maybe in 2009 or 2010. I can't remember what year it was. But I was having like tendonitis in my elbow. And I remember Tom was working out in our weight room right here after one of the practices. And I just was in there doing my routine after, and just, talked to him a little bit about, how he was staying as healthy as he could, like this time in his career. And I was only in year 2 or 3, and he was saying, when we're young, we do all this lifting and we get real tight and bulked up and all these things, and you just hurt. And he's like, and now I'm trying to lengthen and, be strong, but be mobile and all those things. And I remember hearing that as a young player and being like, man, that makes a lot of sense. Like he might be onto something.
Yeah.
And I think the trend has gone that way. And obviously, him with the TB12 and their method and everything that he does, obviously, he's doing a great job with it. But I think there's a lot of guys who are following that mold.
Matt Ryan, have a great year. Good luck.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.